Okay, are we good to go? And we'll look at the other few of other transformations which we regularly use while developing our SSIS packages. So few of them are like we'll go through one by one on all the common tools in the toolbox. So aggregate function that we discussed, balanced data and distributed data. This we will be using very rarely. Conditional splits. This we will be using, and we will be talking about this today. Data conversions. We did discuss about it yesterday. Data streaming destination is not so frequently used. And coming for the derived columns, this is very much frequently used, and we discussed it about yesterday. And HDFS file system destination. These are like common to. These are as common as SQL database data sources. So this we will not be using much of the time, but if there is a requirement, we should be using them as well. And the lookups. So this is one of the important topics that we should be covering in the following sessions, maybe possibly tomorrow or in the following sessions, we'll discuss this. And coming for the merge and merge join. These are completely again coming, which actually comes under like mostly in joins. Multicast, this we should be discussing. This we will be discussing today. Multicast. So this data source, and these are again comes under the source and destination files. I mean the types. Row count, we spoke about it in the previous session, which is to find the count of number of rows which are as a result of an execution query, and that to be stored into one of the user defined variables. So we discussed about creating user defined variables as well. That is with just go on right click on data flow window, and you'll be finding out, you'll be able to find an option with a variable named. Here you can just create a new one or any of such. Row count is done. Script component. This changing dimensions that we will be discussing, union all we will be discussing. And this destination file paths we won't be discussing anymore because we almost covered like pretty much on it. And this as well. And possibly few of the transformations in this. This row sampling and all percentage sampling. And this we will be discussing when there is a requirement to sample your data. Like to get few from like lakhs or crores of data, you will be using this row sampling. And pivot we will be discussing in the following session. So let's start off with today's session. That is with okay. Let's start on. Aggregations we discussed it, right? So we will be discussing about multicast. So what is this multicasting? So this multicast style, what it actually does is that it actually takes a input and puts into multiple output forms. Like if there is a requirement that you should be copying your data into two or more multiple databases or multiple destinations, or to perform any other actions on on a different verticals, you should be using this multicast transformation. So what it just does that distributes every input row to every row in one or more outputs. So it takes one input. So let's put that input as well. So that is source assistant. Let us take same SQL server that we were using and with the AdvantageWorks database. And in that again, we'll go with one of these table, which is, let's go with the address for now. It's address type. Okay, this is an address. Address table is now take as an input, and let us map this to this. So with this, we actually created a connection from a source. And from here, you can just keep multiple destinations available for it. So this is how it works. So are we clear so far? We will be going like we'll see how it actually goes and does the operations inside. Are we clear so far what actually this multicast does? I'll take it as it's clear and no doubts. So here I don't want to use my advanced data table in database, so I'll be using the practice database. And here, if you could notice, I don't have any of much tables been defined for it. So let me just go and define few of them as same, architecture as the person dot address table. So let's take a look. What is the architecture of this person dot address table? So you guys can see my SQL screen. The SQL developer. Okay, here we have. Okay, let's change our database to prac. Let's go with some generic names, output address 1 and output address 2. So remember here, we are putting our address ID column with NVACR of 20. Let's make it to some 50 characters. I won't have any truncation operations being performed on my data. So what I mean by this is that if there is any address ID input value which is more than 20 characters, so it will be taking first 20 characters into destination table and the remaining will be cut off, and that won't be stored anywhere in our data. So to get over it, I'm just keeping my adversary table with an marker 50, which actually should take 50 characters. So ID being 50 characters, that is good length. So in the prac database, I'm just going with output address 1 and output address 2 as well. So I'm just creating two tables now. It is done. Let's get back to Visual Studio and let's see. The destination will be prac database and with the table called OP address 1 for the first multicast output. And you should go and do mappings, which you should not be like, which you'll be finding very much comfortably. That is because that's all are available with proper namings. So it will be taking proper namings. We'll also see how it actually works when there is no proper naming being done or no same conventional namings being given. That we'll see how to like map it. So here, the crossmark on the first multicast destination is removed, and then we'll see the second one. So this is also prac database. And output address 2 table. So let's map the columns if there is any. So it's already been all set. And let's go on OK. So this particular data flow task which I've taken. So this should actually take the data from early DB source, which is from AdventureWorks database, and then cast it into multiple destinations, which is output 1 address output 1 table, output address 2 table. So this should actually take my data from one of my tables in AdventureWorks to and put it into two tables from the prac database. Let's try executing this. Here we go. The execution is started. It says 19614 rows being multicasted into two destinations. Let's check data in the database as well. Oh, sorry. It's OP address 1 and OP address 2. Let's execute both of them. See here, if you could notice, there are like 39,228 rows in both the data tables. So let's see only one now. So it is 19,614 rows in one table, which actually directly copied from the other data source, which is the AdventureWorks database. So again, with the address IP address 2 table, which also 19,614. And sometimes when you want to like do a query optimization, you will be checking how much time each and every query is taking upon. So that you will be finding here. So beside your row count, 19,614, you will be finding like how much time the query has taken to execute, and what is the database, what is the server name, and all stuff. And I'll just execute both of them sequentially. That actually taken me like 2 seconds to execute. Sometimes it depends on how much is your data. So this time it's just 2 seconds. So this is how the multicast actually works. Takes data into like by this we got to know what is multicast and how it actually works. What if we want to combine like these two tables into like one of the other tables? How we do that? So for that, we have another thing called this union all. Union all takes multiple data sources and combines them into one particular destination. You can say that. And this multicast outputs is not limited to one or two. Like you can again create a new link. Let's make it easy to understand. Let's put on derived columns here and there. And here we are putting one more output. Another one. If you could notice, like you can multicast our data into any number of destinations. That's what multicast does. And whenever you are coming with the union all, it actually performs the same operation as multicast. But there is one particular difference is that multicast actually works in such a way that it actually takes one data source and splits into like multiple destinations. But the union all will take multiple sources and puts into one destination. So let's remove them. And by combining these two destinations into one of this, one of the source table. So let's create output 3 table in our database. It's actually again the same query. I just have to change the number here in the prac database. It says command completed successfully, and then we have this available for her here. So whenever you wanted to do this operations, this union all should be taking all your inputs. And after you have put into your data, after you put your data into your destination, it no longer gives me the blue arrow icon, which is called the input arrow. It does not give any longer. So for that, what we should be doing is that we should be placing this OLEDB destination at the end. So meanwhile, in the middle, you can maintain any number of derived columns. So derived column, as we discussed, it can be used to get a new or to create a new column to operate on while we are executing. So apart from that, we can actually use this derived column to as a placeholder as well. So placeholder is nothing but data holder. So for now, I'm just taking up the multicast data into one of this derived column, and again into this derived column. And I'd like to, combine this with union all. Okay, are we clear so far? So are we clear so far? Okay, two of you replied. From this, again, we should be putting our data to one of the destinations, which is again an SQL Server destination. It's not the adventure work. So let me edit the new connection manager. Let's put this alongside this way. So from this, the connection goes to this. And I want my prac database to be connected for this. And the table is output key. And the mapping columns. All mapped properly. Then press on OK. So this gives me a small task which actually takes data from one source and multicasts into two different data holders, you can say, derived columns, and then combines them into one again and then puts into output 3 table. Let's execute and see what is the data in the output table. So it has nothing in it for now. Yep, here goes our analysis again. From this row, we got 19,614 rows. And again, that is multicasted into two derived columns, which is again 19,614, 19,614. Those again unioned with union all operation. This union all operation, you should be very clear with one of our database concepts, the union all keyword. And this combine it together and put into one destination, which is with 39,228 rows. Let's see if it has the data. Yes, it is indeed. You can see here the row count 39,228. The other one we can count from the query is this way. Let's see what is actually the data in this table. So let's select stuff from the output address 3 and let's order by address ID. See here, this address ID column actually taken in a way that two ones are displayed. So this is because of union operation. We've taken from the same table and we have put into like multiplied by 2 and that is what we did here, and followed by 110 is there, and then followed by 100, and then followed by 1001, 1002 and stuff. So when I've given this condition where to order my data based on address ID column, this did not give me in the format of 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a normal ascending order, but it has instead given me with all starting with 1 first and all starting with 2 next, that way. Why is it? This is because our data table, so this is the table that we have address ID is defined as varchar data type. So varchar will be sorting in a way that first come first serve. So all the names that are starting with A will be on the top, and all the names which are starting with Z will be on the bottom. Same way, all the names, all the IDs which are starting with 1 will be on the top. So here, the last one, 999 is there. So this particular 999 will should be around in the middle of first 2000 records. So let's change how it would behave then. For that, let me create another table, address 4. But now I want to take my integer data type for my address ID. Let's execute this. Here we are, and again, let's stop this execution of SIS package and let me change output table to table 4. Okay. And let's execute this. Here we are, done with our operation. And let's see the data. And then now let's output 4 table. Let's now first get the data. So it got me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, and then followed by again somewhere around after 20,000. It'll be starting with 1 again. So let's order this data by address ID 1. See now what is the output of this? 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6. So this is one of the differences for the order by with based on the data type, how it will be deferred. And what if I want this address ID to be unique? So for that, again, we have to change our database table architecture. So I want this to be int, but I don't want the data columns, like the data coming from the source table, which is this, to be copied into destination automatically. I want to define the new one. So for that, what you should be doing? For that, you can actually create your database table with an architecture to say that create an unique key every time a row being inserted into that particular table. So that we have seen in one of our tables yesterday, which is this function, identity function. What this identity will be doing is that it actually starts from 1, and for every next record being inserted, it adds the previous number by 1. So if you can just put 2 here, it will start with 1. For the next row being inserted, that value will be 3, again 5. So that goes. So now I would like to output 5 table, OP address 5 with identity 1 and 1. Let's execute this. Let's see the data of address output 5 table. We don't have it any. Let's now change the destination to output 5 table. Let's double click on the destination. It will redirect you to here. Here again, change the table to 5. Okay. And then start. What it says. So the address ID, when we define it as the identity column in our table, that becomes read only. So for that, we should not be having any input data for address ID column. So for that, what we should be doing for that? So we should be unmapping the address ID column. So this particular address ID, I'd like to ignore. So this connection's been lost now. Just click on OK. The cross mark's gone now. Okay, the execution is successful. And let's see what is the data available for me in address 5 table, which is with a normal series of execution. we have proper uh, ideas being given now. And what if you want to sort this union output and to put it into your way and sort it in any of the condition? For that, what you should be doing is that placing one of the, which one is the sort data transformation and middle of this. Let's delete this. To here, from here to here. So let's click on sort. The available input columns are all these. How you want to actually sort out is what we define in here. So I want to sort my data on basis of my city. So I'll select city. Before that, I'd like to go with state and city. So all states will be grouped and then cities will be done. So sorting order, sort as we discussed yesterday. This sort order will take place when we define multiple sort conditions on our data. So this gives me, it will first sort with my state ID and then followed by cities for every state. So let's just click on OK. And then here, coming here for the mappings. Previous address ID's mapping is now ignored. That is fine. Let us check. First, we'll delete the data from our output 5 table. It says 39,228 rows affected. Let's execute this. It has no data. And let's try executing this SSIS package. So what it says the execution is successful, and let's see the data. So we have 39,228 rows. But if you notice the address ID, the column name, the column data has been now started with 39,229. Why is this? Anyone? Sure, you there? So why it actually happened is that in the previous operation, we actually deleted the data from output address 5. But the main difference between delete and truncate is this one. It actually differs in one way, that is at the identity column. So if you perform delete operation on any table which has an identity column, that does not reset the previous ID value. So now let's try truncating. Truncate table. Let's execute this. This command completed successfully. And let's see what will be our output now. So it's copying successful. Let's get this data from this now. So as you can see, it started with 1 now. So here you got the one more interview question, which is delete and truncate. What is the main difference? And to notice all the cities, this Calgary, and then followed by one of the other cities, which is this Edmonton, which is again in the state ID 1. So this is the order that we have given. First, order the data on basis of state ID and then followed by city. So are we clear so far? So by this we have completed multicast union all sort and derived columns. And tomorrow we will be discussing with lookup and conditional split. How do we actually split data on as per conditions? And again, what else do we have to discuss? We've covered pretty much all. And we'll discuss about error handling tomorrow. Let me create new data flow task, which is to sample the data. Let me change this name. DFT data sampling. So for this, again, I need a source. That is again my AdventureWorks database, which for now I'd like to take the persons table. Call it employee table. And then go to the row sampling. What is this row sampling actually is? So with the provided data, if you want to take sample records, so whenever you're dealing with few of the statistics methods, you will be getting up with this row sampling quite often. So for now, let's take, if you want to take sample from the bulky amounts of data, you will be using row sampling. So double click on the row sampling, it will redirect to one of this. So how many rows you want, that you will be defining here. So my employee table has multiple tables, so multiple records. So I'm just gonna say some 100 records, and then just press on OK. Should return 100 rows now. So along with that, for visualization purpose, I just say derived column in here to get my input to this. Yeah. I have just placed row sampling in here and the derived column, which is actually a temporary data holder, you can say, in our current plan of execution. And it says what you should actually capture the data. So that says sampling selected output. What this sampling selected and sampling unselected output. So when you are taking row sampling, so we defined 100 rows to take from our data source, which is again a employee table. So which one you want to store in this derived column? That is what it is asking for. It's asking for the selected 100 rows or unselected remaining number of rows which are like taking out of those 100 rows. I'm now going to select only selected rows for now. So now the sampling selected rows in here, and I would go with another derived column, which is again the new connection. If you could notice here, let me zoom in a bit. Sampling unselected output. That is being automatically taken for this connection, which is here. So when we have defined one of the connection with sampling selected output, that has been taken with explicit specification, and the unselected one is taken automatically. So this is row sampling. We will now just put enable data viewer here. That is because we'd like to see that 100 records. And let's execute. See, this is the data viewer content. It actually taken very randomly the data 1, 250, 222, 131, 6, so on. So these are 100 rows that are taken very randomly from our data. So let us just close this. See here, the overall number of rows are 290 rows. Here you can see now. And after row sampling, with 100 number of rows. The remaining 190 rows are being kept into this particular derived column, and the only 100 number of rows is kept into this particular column. Let's change this a little bit. We'll put sampling. Which is here. So what this percentage sampling actually does. So one more thing I wanted to show you is that this particular data is now very much random. See, previously it was some 1 to 55 to 22 on stuff. And now let's execute again and see what is the data. One 122, 226, 103, 256 and stuff. So what if I want to get all the way same data whenever I sample? So that is how we do this following random seed. So this particular random seed actually takes any integer and will be outputting same result when the particular this random seed is being matched. So let's now put 5 and let's execute and see what is the data. It says 258, 134, 2084. So starting with 258. Let's now change a value in this row sampling to 7 and let's see what will be the output. See here, previously it started with 258 and now it's with 156. So this is with a random seed. And for now, I'd like to show you percentage sampling. That will be the last one for today. And for that, let's get this here. Let's delete this link and we'll map this to here and one derived column to hold the data of it, which is here. And the connection goes from here to here. So this one, again, it asks me for what is the data that you want to select into this particular derived column. So here, let me disable this. I don't have disable options, so only thing is to delete it. Select and delete. So this percentage sampling, double click on that. What is the number of rows that you want in the terms of percentage that you will be giving here? I just want 5% of my data. And this one we discussed, the random seed that we no longer need now. So only 5% data should be coming on into our derived column. Let's just put the data viewer here. Enable data viewer. And let's execute. How many rows? There are 16 rows that is being displayed. That is a 5% of data from my 90 rows. So this is percentage sampling. It will be useful whenever you are dealing with like large kinds of data tables or data sources. So this is row sampling and percentage sampling. Any doubts so far?